later.
Campy, trashy horror films are nothing new, especially if you grew up watching horror made in the 70s and 80s. However, often when digging through the endless selections of spooky features, once in a while you come across a film that's so bad, it's actually entertaining. I'm your host, Jamie, for Fat Ninja Studios, and whether you call these cult classics or B-movie treasures, here is our list of the top 10 best worst horror films. Number 1. Crabs, 2021. The film kicks off with a couple getting down and dirty in the sand while approached by a curious horseshoe crab. If you've ever had sex with pets around, you can understand how awkward it can get when they stare at you during the act. So our lovely couple decides to stop their fun and investigate the little voyeur. However, when they get ready to take a picture, it attacks, eating the boyfriend's face and leaving his poor lover screaming into a title card swipe. From then on, we are introduced to a small town and some of its, let's call them, unique characters. By far the most ridiculous is Radu, a foreign exchange student from some unnamed Slavic country, and of course Van Halen's favorite hot, sexy blonde teacher who haunts the dreams of every young, hormone-filled teen boy that attends her class. The film eventually culminates in the crabs evolving into Power Ranger-style men in crab suits monsters, as well as a final fight between a giant kaiju crab mother and a robot built to look like a shark by a boy in a wheelchair with spare parts in his garage, and a Tony Stark arc reactor ripoff. If all of this sounds like I'm making up some BS, you forget that there are 5 Sharknadoes out there. As bad as the acting and story is, there's actually some solid special effects in the film, and some memorable moments that make this a fun movie if you just want to switch your brain off and watch a bunch of crabs kill people. Number 2. The Mausoleum, 1983. From the moment this film starts, it is just utterly confusing. We watch this young girl named Sarah say goodbye to her late mother, and for some reason take off running through a graveyard. She happens upon a mausoleum, goes inside, some guy's head explodes, and we flash forward a bunch of years. She entices a gardener to have sex with her. Her eyes glow green, and she can make people do things like float in the air and explode, or, in the case of her husband, calmly leave the bedroom and make a phone call to his psychiatrist, even though she looked like an inhuman demon creature. Yeah, I'm not even kidding you about how much it doesn't make sense, because at the end of the film, one of the people she killed, and the only one she actually physically kills herself, and not through green-eyed magic whatever, somehow is just alive, hanging out at the graveyard and laughing. Definitely a conversational piece. Watch it with a group of friends, and I guarantee you'll be talking about what actually happened long after the film has ended. Number 3. Deep Rising, 1998. I love this film, okay? Enough that I think it should even get a sequel. Sadly, with the passing of Treat Williams, I don't see that happening. However, the plot is pretty simple. A fancy cruise ship is out at sea when they are suddenly attacked by something. Flash forward to a group of smugglers hired by a mercenary team to take them out to this missing cruise ship. Turns out they weren't hired to rescue anyone. They were hired by the ship's owner to rob it, and then he would cash in on the insurance money. Yet when they get on board, everyone is missing. At first they think another group of pirates had attacked the ship and taken everyone. But soon the spooky stuff starts happening, and they are attacked by tentacle creatures. They eventually make it to the ballroom, where they find out what happened to the passengers of the ship. A massive feeding ground for the octolus, which is based on a real sea creature called the Atoya worm, just gigantic in size. Guns blazing, gnarly deaths, and a fast see-do-ever in existence. It is just a fun ride from start to finish. If you're a fan of films like Poseidon and Ghost Ship, add this one to your list. Number 4, Basket Case 3, 1991. If you've seen the first 2 installments, then you already know the story of Belial. For those who don't, he's essentially a conjoined twin that was removed and is basically a lump with teeth and nothing but debauchery and murder on his mind. By the time the 3rd film rolls around, it has taken on less of a horror aspect and almost becomes a straight-up comedy. Belial finds out he's about to be a father and begins living with Granny Ruth, who houses a bevy of misshapen people. With effects by Greg Bartalos, the man behind movies like Leprechaun, and another film on this list, Frankenhooker, the film is filled with over-the-top monster designs and cartoonishly gory scenes of violence. However, somehow, there is some heart at the center of this horror comedy film, and commentary on how we treat those who don't fit societal norms. I wouldn't exactly call this film a family-friendly feature, but definitely a fun date night flick that goes down great with a nice slice of pizza. Number 5, Society, 1989. If you've heard of this film, then the phrase, the shunting, already conjures up images of slippery, hot, sticky nightmares. The film revolves around Billy, a clueless himbo who just doesn't fit in with his wealthy family and social cast. But when his friends start dying around him after he discovers something strange about his sister, which he gains by peeping on her, the film begins to spiral into some sort of murder mystery thriller. That is, until the shunting. Now, for those of you who haven't seen this film, I'm not going to spoil this moment. You have to see it for yourself. But with a man such as Screaming Mad George behind the effects, you are in for an insane treat. The film's overall message is also still relevant today, being about the divide of classism, as well as popular conspiracy beliefs that rich politicians are all secretly shape-shifting creatures from outer space. I definitely recommend you do not eat right before seeing this film, as it does eventually get pretty graphic, but I 100% recommend seeing this film, period. Number 6, Frankenhooker, 1990. From the man who brought you the Basket Case films, Frank Henenlotter, we have an equally audacious film here that sees Jeffrey Franken and his fiancée Elizabeth celebrating their engagement when she is horribly mutilated and killed by a lawnmower wedding gift. Desperate to bring her back to life using his knowledge on circuitry and robotics, he salvages what he can from her corpse and then begins to kill prostitutes to use their body parts to create the perfect body for her. However, after she awakes, she escapes and causes murder and mayhem as people try to sleep with her, and so forth. At a tight 84 minutes, there's not a lot of slow moments. A non-stop dark comedy thrill ride that'll either have you laughing your throat raw or wrenching back in disgust. Fans of movies like Reanimator or Idle Hands will love this film. Number 7, Leprechaun III, 1995. If you're at all familiar with this franchise, the lovable Warwick Davis of Willow fame is probably the best thing about these movies. Wisecracking, rhyming, all-timer one-liners, followed by creative, gruesome kills, Leprechaun 3 takes the titular villain to the bright lights of Las Vegas. Sort of. The budget only allowed them to do a few shots of the outskirts of the famous city, while most of it was filmed in Los Angeles. While the plot is basically the same as the others, someone stole his precious gold and he's here to collect. What makes this film particularly bad in an unforgettable way is the cast of characters he torments. We've got failing magicians, evil casino owners, a bright-eyed college boy in love with a doe-eyed, up-and-coming showgirl, and even a superstitious pawnshop owner. Probably one of the best kills involves Loretta, who is so obsessed with body image that she wishes for bigger boobs and a bigger butt. So of course, our magical little psychopath inflates them until they explode. There's probably more than one joke in this film that has definitely aged poorly, but if you're looking for a ridiculous good time, I definitely recommend this film. Number 8. Tammy and the T-Rex, 1994. An evil German scientist creates a robotic Tyrannosaurus Rex with incredible strength and lethal capabilities. However, it's missing one key component, a human brain. Enter Tammy, a promising young cheerleader with a cute new boyfriend, a gay best friend, and a jealous toxic ex. After an altercation between Michael, the new beau, and Billy the ex, Michael is left for dead in an animal pen. The German scientists recover his body and, of course, transplant it into the Robo-Rex. As the film progresses, Tammy eventually realizes that the dinosaur is actually Michael and tries to get him a new body. I cannot impress upon you how stupidly ridiculous this film actually is. But if you somehow find yourself craving a film with a killer dinosaur, and you've seen the Jurassic Park movies too many times, then you should probably just give up. If you can't though, then check this flick out. Or seek out another gem, Carnosaur, if you want to take the action into space. Number 9. Sleepwalkers, 1992. Now this is one of those early Stephen King movies where studios were pumping them out left and right to capitalize on his brand. With that being said, I still love it. Basically a vampire flick. However, the way they are portrayed are more like ancient South American bloodsuckers mixed with the Native American legend of the Wendigo. They take on human form, that of mother and son, have an absolute hatred for cats, and a strange incestual relationship because I'm assuming they can only procreate with their own kind. They also don't drink blood, but instead suck out the souls of their victims. The theme song that runs throughout is an absolute bop, and the special effects aren't terrible. There's even a scene where a cop gets killed by an actual cob of corn. So, if you're looking for somewhat unique take on vampiric lore, you should definitely look this one up. By no means Oscar worthy, but it will stick with you after watching. Be wary though, if you're an animal lover, a few cats are dispatched in some cruel ways. Number 10. Jason X, 2001. Pretty much after the 4th installment, the Friday series went full camp. Any semblance of a serious slasher went out the window and became the lovable meme-worthy series we've all come to love. Jason X just takes the cake in this regard. After the abysmal film that was Jason Goes to Hell, this series sees the titular killer cryo-frozen and discovered in the distant future by a bunch of space morons and their sex robot. He is, of course, thawed out, exploded, and then rebuilt by the ship's super sci-fi medical station, and becomes what is basically an equivalent to Thanos and Super Shredder having a child. Carnage ensues as the crew is sliced and diced and otherwise dismembered, and it's just a blast from start to finish. The dialogue is intentionally campy and stupid. I mean, no one watches this film for the plot, but the gory special effects are fun and surprisingly still hold up to this day for the most part. If you've never seen this film, grab a bunch of your slasher fan friends and a big bowl of popcorn and get ready for a movie you'll be quoting endlessly into the next week. Thanks for checking out the video. Any so bad it's good horror films we missed? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to ring that bell icon and stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, link below in the description. I've been your host, Jamie. Have a great spooky season.